Let's come back to order, please. Members of the public may now provide their comments regarding the proposed formal notice of intent. Each member will be limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name and their address before providing your comments. Maybe those in favor on this side and those against on this side, but you can just start filling the aisle one behind the other. When you get through making your comments, don't come down the steps. We done had a couple people fall this morning, so please stay at the mic. All right, if you're going to make a public comment, come on forward and start getting in line. And I'll probably start with my right-hand side, and we'll alternate backwards and forth until we get everybody that wishes to make a comment. Okay, remember, state your name and your address. When you start to speak, you have 3 minutes to give your comments. I'd also like to, if you have submitted an affidavit and you made public comment at the last hearing that we had, then your comments and affidavit have been made part of the record, so it may or may not be necessary for you to say anything. But if you want to, you can. But if you've already done it, it is part of the record and will be presented to the court. Okay, we're going to start. My right, sir, you're up.
My name is Pete Foley. My wife Sharon and I own a vacation home at 23 Maple Street in Santa Rosa Beach.
Sir, could you spell your last name?
F-O-L-E-Y. We're in the Gulfview Heights neighborhood. We've vacationed or owned in South Walton for 28 years, freely utilizing beaches in Seagrove, Seaside, Watercolor, Grayton, and Santa Rosa. Our 4 children played on the beaches that I just mentioned. And on June 17, 2008, one of our sons was married on these sands at sunset. My wife and I were married out in the Gulf of Mexico almost 25 years ago. So this area and those beaches are near and dear to our hearts. Since 1970, we've enjoyed kite flying, sunbathing, sandcastle building, surf casting, bonfires, family reunions, family portraits, tossing a frisbee, a baseball, or a football, bocce, picnic, stargazing, photography, early morning walks, jogging, and of course, wine and sunset rituals every night the weather cooperates. We have 6 grandchildren now, and I fully expect them to come visit and enjoy our beaches as their parents did as children, and hopefully will continue to do so as adults for many years to come. Since the mid-1980s, I've collected sand from beaches around the world, Europe, Caribbean, South America, Australia, and from beaches up and down American coastlines. I have nearly 100 spice jars individually labeled and lined up on 2 shelves at home, and I will tell you that the sand from the beaches of South Walton is the finest in the world, and it's not just due to the sand, it's due to the welcoming nature, the customary, historical, welcoming nature of our beaches. It is my profound belief that we should keep all 26 miles of Walton County coastline and beaches open to all. On January 15, 2004, Sharon and I made our biggest, largest individual investment, personal investment, when we purchased our Santa Rosa home. We based this on the belief and the understanding that our family and our visitors would have full access to and be able to freely use any of the beaches along the 26 miles of coast. We split our time nearly 50-50 between Atlanta and Santa Rosa because we love these beaches so much, and we choose not to rent because we want to be able to come down every opportunity we have. Why do I think our beaches should remain open to all for perpetuity? Let me quote President John F. Kennedy when he spoke to the America's Cup team in Newport, Rhode Island in 1962. We are tied to the ocean and beaches, and when we go back to the sea, whether it is to sail or to watch it, we are going back from whence we came. That is why, thank you for listening. I implore each of you to do the right thing and vote 5-0 in favor of customary use.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Lee Shook, S-H-O-O-K. I live at 8850 East County Road 38. I've been down here in the Destin, Seagrove, Seacrest area all my life, and the Seagrove, Seacrest area since 1976. I'm part of that group that drove on the beaches with jeeps and built bonfires and crab and fish with my family. So I've been here a while, and I love this county. I love our beaches, and I love the Gulf. This is not a prevalent ordinance in the state of Florida. There are only 2 counties out of all the counties in Florida that have this ordinance, and that's Volusia and St. Johns County. So this is not a common ordinance by any stretch of the imagination. We have both state and county parks, public parks, and we have this, we've shown up here in the shaded area. A good bit of our beachfront is public. A lot of them. And they have facilities there they can use. They're set up for the public. In front of my house daily, I pick up trash. I listen to loud music, people drinking. People use the bathroom in the dunes in front of my house because there are no facilities. I find that totally unacceptable. I would do it to somebody else's property. The umbrella companies show up at 6 o'clock in the morning. They set up their umbrellas in front of the houses. Of course, they take closest to the water property. Most of the time, those chairs are unoccupied. And they say, oh, we have contracts. Well, they don't have contracts because I watch them, I talk to them. They do sometimes have a contract for the day, but they leave them out there with their telephone numbers on them, hoping somebody will come along and run them. Most of the time, they don't. They're down there this morning. I think the root of this problem, a lot of it goes back to the creation of the TDC. Our roads are overwhelmed. Our beaches are overwhelmed because of so many people being attracted to our beautiful county and our beautiful beaches. Y'all are killing the goose that laid the golden egg.
Okay, ma'am.
My name is Debbie Hardman. My husband and I own the beach property at 174 South Wall Street in Inlet Beach. My husband's aunt came to Walton County in the early 60s and purchased several beach cottages at Inlet Beach and Seacrest Beach. My husband and I were married in 1972 and have spent time at Inlet Beach every year since then. Our children grew up playing and running and laughing on these beaches, and now my grandchildren are doing the same. Our family has seen 5 generations at Inlet Beach. In 1991, our aunt passed away and left her beach property to her niece and nephews. We own one of the homes that she had purchased in 1963, as well as my sister-in-law's family own the one property next to us. They are side by side on South Wall Street. Our house was the first house built on South Wall Street. At the time, it was the closest house to the beach, and we enjoyed that for years and years. Now, there are 8 houses that are on the beachfront property at our beach access at Inlet Beach. 5 streets feed into Wall Street from the south side of 98, not to mention the north side of 98. Dozens and dozens of homes now use this beach. If customary use does not stand, then 8 large mega family homes on our beachfront would take our entire beach, And my family and all the other families that have been there for years and years would have to get in our car, as this man suggested, and go to the public beaches. We have 60-plus years of memories playing, watching our children grow, our grandchildren grow, sunbathing, swimming, watching the sunset, and just enjoying the beach at Inlet Beach. Our plan is 60 years from now, our grandchildren and their children will be enjoying our beaches at Inlet Beach. We have paid taxes on these beaches and added to the economy of Walton County for all these years. Please don't take this away from us.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Okay, if you will, spell your last name so our clerk can make sure she gets it recorded correctly. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Kiesling. That's Kiesling, and I live at 1025 Vizcaya. Last year, in October 2017, I had the opportunity to purchase a beautiful beachfront home. I remember looking at the documents with the deed showing that I would actually own to the mean high tide water line. And I understood and reflected about this, that this was a very big responsibility. I was made aware that when storms had hit the areas in previous years, that it was the owner's responsibility to restore the beach for not only the personal use, but the environmental consequences as well. And I had to really reflect on that, because that's a huge responsibility that I think a lot of people, when they come to vacation here, they don't necessarily think about that. But I take that personally. And I know that if there is, and I hope there's not any kind of storm in the future, at least during my lifetime, I know that I would do anything and everything in order to maintain the beach. Nobody here wants to deny anybody access to the beach. We all know that the beach is beautiful. It's a wonderful place to come. We're very fortunate that we have this in our country. But at this point in time, we need to think about maybe purchasing other private beaches that the county could purchase in order to better equip with better infrastructure, so that in 100 years, these beautiful beaches are still here. We need to do what we can do as humans to preserve them. When they're washed away and devastated by storms, there's not a whole lot that we can do. So I hope that we can come to some kind of compromise to look at private beaches, purchase them from the county, and move and develop them with appropriate infrastructure for all people to use for now and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Carl Valentino, that's V as in Victor, Alentino. I live at 71 Gulf Shore Drive, Santa Rosa Beach, that's Gulf Trace. My wife Barbara and I began as a couple in New Jersey in 1959, and now we reside in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. Our first experience of South Walton's beautiful beaches was in 1970 when we camped at Camp Golf on the Emerald Coast Highway. In the morning, we caught whiting in the surf and cooked it there on the beach. Our experience was much like everyday lives of Native Americans who combed the beaches centuries prior to our arrival at South Walton. In 1983, we returned to South Walton with our two sons, Trey and Michael. We rented a beach house in Gulf Trace and enjoyed a week of beach going. We were convinced that this beach was where we would eventually retire from the rigors of the oil industry in Houston, Texas. So we bought a lot from the Gulf Trace developer, Colonel James E. Ray. And Max Matthews built our first home. We rented that home to thousands of vacationers and beachgoers over the years. Our son Trey recently bought a lot on a Freeport bayou so he can be close to the beach. Our other son Michael loves fishing in the Gulf, and for the past 15 years he is at Grayton Beach on a daily basis where he loads vacationers onto his boat, the Trigger Happy, to take them for fishing charters. When Colonel Ray sold the 81 lots in Gulf Trace, he made it clear to new lot owners that the beach at Gulf Trace was for all to enjoy. The livelihood of Walton County is based upon the right of customary use of the beach. Such right needs to be assured. Due to the tourism-driven economy of Walton County, how will it survive if vacationers cannot use our beaches?
Take about 10 seconds to wrap it up, please.
I think I've made my point, so thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thank you. Well, you're going to have to pull that mic up. We can't hear you.
And he didn't spell his last name.
Close enough for can I start over? Or just start the clock again? Can you hear me now?
Speak up, sir. Use your outside voice.
I'll try to be correct. All right, my name is Bill Hackmeyer, H-A-C-K-M-E-Y-E-R, this guy. Having spent most of my productive years as a mechanical engineer, it's ingrained in me to look at all angles to problem solve an issue. Therefore, I have put together a list of notable facts leading up to my suggestions on how to resolve our dispute. Beachfront properties, including mine, included pay an exorbitant amount of taxes to Walton County. However, we do not receive additional services from the county other than what other citizens receive, such as law enforcement, roads, schools, and so forth. Note that we use our own personal money to plant sand fences and seals to improve our beaches. For instance, when Hurricane Ivan hit us in 2004, the Sky spent over $1.2 million to restore our dunes and beaches without receiving one dime from Walton County. Despite the high property taxes, the Sky owners have personally paid for our own beach restoration, and now these beaches are the same beaches Walton County wants to take away from us. I have worked hard and saved all my money, all my life to buy a beachfront home. My property came with the deed to the Mean High Water Line. This beach is my deed, and because of the Constitution and the rule of law, cannot be taken by force. The Scotty Seaside and others absolutely do not fall within the requirements of customary use laid out by the Florida Supreme Court in 1974. Therefore, it makes no sense to me that your so-called expert PhD glosses over the two of the main requirements, or two of the four requirements, uncontested and without dispute. No one can deny that we have forever had no trespassing signs and have always diligently asking trespassers to leave. Thus, our beach cannot, by definition, be taken by customary use. In closing, most folks agree that Walton County needs more public beaches. Because of the facts I've mentioned, I believe your pursuit to forcibly take our private property will prove to be an uphill battle and a tremendous waste of money on legal fees alone. Fees to be extracted from the people of Walton County, our taxpayer dollars. Rather than taking our properties by force, I suggest you spend taxpayer dollars to purchase these properties for public use. If you coordinate with the state of Florida for tourists to use Florida's 4 miles of park beaches in the county and Walton County beaches and advertise their location, you will attract more tourists, thereby recouping the initial money invested to purchase your beaches. Thank you.
Thank you. On my right, go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon or morning, whatever it is. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, thank you for your work on this issue. My name is Brian Montague, M-O-N-T-A-G-U-E. My wife, Leanne, and I live in Seagrove at 43 Chanel Court, about a block from the Gulf. Mr. Chairman, I was greatly moved by the words of Ann Tucker, chair of the Muskogee Nation of Florida. Although my own ties with the Gulf are not as ancient as those of the Muskogee, they are to me profound in this sense. As a young boy, I first smelled and tasted and fished Gulf waters out of a place called John's Bayou in Jackson County, Mississippi. In a Woodhull Tinkerbilt, my dad, brothers, and I would leave John's Bayou, go down Bluff Creek, leave the Mississippi Sound, past Cat and Horn Island, and enjoy fishing and recreating in the Gulf. Memories there of my father, his father, brothers, are what I think of many times in walking the beach a block from our house in Seagrove. It's part of what drew us to buy properties there and elsewhere in Walton County. We enjoy that access, facilitated, it should be noted, members of the commission, by not fewer than 47 neighborhood access points created by and for the public, together with accompanying rights of beach use. In that respect, we thank you, members of the commission, for your leadership on that issue, in convening years of public hearings on customary use, in enacting a well-considered county ordinance on customary use, in successfully defending that ordinance in federal court in the Alford case, and in now attempting in good faith to comply with House Bill 631, the legislation that ordains this hearing. The history of that legislation leads many of us to question its constitutionality, not merely on equal protection grounds, where the legislation was structured to single out Walton County's ordinance, but also on separation of powers grounds, where the legislation imposes on the judicial branch procedural requirements and evidentiary rules. I ask that we not abandon those arguments, which can be advanced in good faith, as you tried to comply with this ordinance. Thank you very much. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Frazier. Reside at 653 Eastern Lake Road, Seagrove Beach. I'm here to ask the members of this council, we've heard a lot about the fact that this customary use is probably, you're going to enforce it. You know it, I know. So, I mean, half of this thing is just calisthenics. All right, having said that, what precise easements does the government propose to take off of property lake was owned since 1993. Never been renourished by the government. We and the family have rebuilt the dunes to where it looks like it should in past times. Where are you on that? We've never heard a word. We hear you up here. We hear all these good folks talk about how pristine and beautiful the beach is. We all know that. It's there for everybody to see. But my point is, you've never said what kind of easements are you going to take? What kind of protections are you going to afford the property owners? They still own the property. They still pay the taxes. Are you going to have some compensatory program whereby the taxes are reduced? I doubt that. Now, what else? You got public, 2 months ago, I was up and down this beach, up and down 38 with a friend of mine. We were looking to do something with some beachfront property, build new homes. People that have come before me have stated there's plenty of beachfront property available on this 26 miles of wonderful coast. Why haven't you, as a government, over time, taken possession of some of that land to afford public access to the beaches, that people will be coming streaming in here in large numbers time after time? So I think it's incumbent upon you, folks sitting up here. You've been derelict in the past. You have not done the proper protections for the taxpayers of this county in providing public access to beaches. I blame it at the foot of this dais up here. I think it's incumbent upon you all to take a look at yourself in the mirror. What am I going to do for these good people who have bought this land in good faith, spent their hard-earned money to pay the taxes, to prolong and enforce and help the economy of this county? You need to take a look. You need to address yourself in the mirror and say, who am I? What am I elected to do? Thank you.
All right. Yes, sir.
I am Dan McMurtry, and I live at 14 Half Moon Lane, Watersound, West Beach.
Sam, what was your last name?
It's Dan McMurtry.
Spell that.
McMurtry.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
I first started coming down to this beach probably in the 70s. Ended up purchasing a home. I was very fortunate in 2013. My dad would bring me down here because he worked at a place called Western Auto that doesn't exist anymore. And they would save their money all year to come down for maybe 3 or 4 days. I can't imagine somebody saving their money to come to Walton County, how embarrassing it would be that if they stayed on the north side of 30A, they would be restricted from going to the beach. It's absolutely embarrassing. It's disgusting. It's immoral. I have clients I represent all over the United States, but specifically in the Southeast, that are military veterans that suffer from PTSD. And what really just angers me to no end is a church might send them down here a once-in-a-lifetime visit, and they have to stay north of 30A because of the money, and they get a little condo. But I find it so just angry to me that they could go fight in the Middle East, but they can't sit on the damn sand out here in Walton County. And I am so angry about that. It is hard for me to talk about it. But I ask you to do the right thing, and when my clients come down here, that maybe they can sit in the sand, and they fought in the sand, so maybe that would be okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm John Crump, C-R-U-N-K. I have a home on Blue Mountain Beach, and it's next to public access. The town here is getting a lot of business here because of the beach. I have never run anyone off of my beach. I am not against customary use. I've never put a sign on my property. My problem is the county is spending a lot of money that could be handled better. I own additional property at Burnt Pines. I My home's a lot better than it is on the beach. My property tax at Blue Mountain Beach has gone up 10% this year from $20,000 to $22,000. The same property that I owned in Destin went up 3%. So it's costing me a premium to just have a house on there. Why don't the county give us some type of, whether it be a discount on our property tax or something, to let people use our bridges, which they do online anyway without you having to pay for it. Walton County is getting taxes from hotels, taxes, gas taxes, food taxes, for having these people come in and use our beaches. So you're penalizing me by being a homeowner that goes along with customary use. About 10 years ago, I also had that washout. I bought up a retaining wall. I hauled sand in at $800 a load. I spent over $350,000 to refurbish that. Just the other day with Michael, I got washed out about 15 or 20% of my bank. I want to thank Melody Network for giving us some people to call. But right now, as I see it, I want to push the sand that washed out into the Gulf back up on my wall. But my chances of getting is probably nil. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. My name is Philip Walker, W-A-L-K-E-R. I own a property at 8317 East County Highway 38 between Alice Beach and Watersound. First of all, I do want to thank this commission, those of you who are for customary use specifically, for taking this initiative and all the hard work that you have put into this. Very deeply from the bottom of my heart, thank you for doing this. I can't believe we're here. We've taken for granted that coming to the Florida Panhandle beaches since childhood, back when I was even in diapers, have photos of that, but little did we know that we should be taking photos to document exactly where we were and what we did. We were just enjoying the beaches growing up, doing this thing. I would imagine that many of these people pushing for private signs on their beaches have photos in their albums of their family members and their children and their grandchildren enjoying the beaches before maybe they were owners here and freely enjoying these beaches. When you purchase here, if you ever vacation here, you know what you're getting when you buy a property on the beach here. You know people are on the beach. You know that willingly when you purchase here. Now, instead of enjoying the beaches and having a good time, you draw lines in the sand, sit on your balconies with binoculars, daring people to get on your beaches. Make no mistake that if these beaches close to public use, tourism is going to suffer greatly. People say the county has the opportunity to purchase all this beachfront property, but we know that economically that's really just not going to be feasible. And actually, these folks had the opportunity to purchase somewhere else as well. We've all been reminded, we have all been reminded recently that none of us really own these beaches. We talked to our neighbors to the east. And God forbid if something like that ever happens here and we come back and we sit on what's left of our balconies someday. I'm sure that the thousands and thousands of volunteers with their rakes, chainsaws, shovels, and food and water will be welcome on your property at that time. But if they're carrying a beach chair and a blanket, then be sure to call the sheriff and run them off. I can see the billboards now as I drive over the county line. A young child with their pail, their sand, their bucket, and their shovel, standing on a beach walkover, looking down, razor wire on each side. Welcome to Walton County. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Harry Meyer, 490 Circle, Camp Creek Place subdivision. M-E-I-E-R. I lived there before there was watercolors, before there was Watersound, before there was Rosemary, before there was the seaside. I lived there before there were fire hydrants. I've been there 32 years as my homestead, exemption. I'm a working man. I'm not rich. I go to work every day. I worked since 14 years old. I get a letter of intent about customer customary use of private property, that's my private property. That's not your private property. If you were going to compensate me somehow, I don't have a problem. But I put 32 years of my life into that property. And now I'm being treated like I'm some bitch moron who has no right to be there. Well, I'm not a bitch moron. I'm a hard-working, smart man. I'm here just to defend my property rights. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Caroline Geary. That's a verb, Caroline. My legal name is Carol, but that's my artist name. I live in
Spell your last name for us. Spell your last name.
Geary. At 34 Heron's Watch Way. I live in a condominium. And I've been using the beaches customarily since 2002. I really liked Karen McGee's characterization that it is really customary rights that we are exercising in use. I like all the emphasis on documentation. It's not just that we use it, but we have to show and tell and picture that we used it. And Jeff Miller really brought that home. But I did not hear any mention of books and literature. And maybe that's just that I missed it. But I have a really important book that I got this summer, published by Robert O. Reynolds, and it's called Simply Seagrove. You want this on TV? Somebody?
Do you want that submitted?
Okay.
You want to submit it to us for evidence?
Yes.
All right, Gary, if you'll give it to the clerk.
Read some quotes in here, though, first.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, because this author customarily used the beaches from 1950s on as a child, and now he's a NASA engineer designing rogue vehicles and astronomy for NASA. But he loves remembering how he used the beach and still does. They still own property here. What I wanted to say that he brought the property from C.H. McGee, who started in 1949, you know that. There's a couple of quotes here. Page 7. In 1949, C.H. McGee, Sr., a developer from Panama City, became the new owner of the roughly 160 acres of Gulf-front land originally developed by the Seagrove Company. Okay, skip to, he talks about that. Specifically appropriate is on page 26. I can see this. McGee also wanted to make sure people had access to the beach, even those who didn't own Gulffront property or homes. So he provided for an easement for a walkway and steps to the beach about every 5th house along the bluff. The walkway along the top connected till these steps was so easy. That's it.
Thank you. You still want that book? Okay, we'll give it to the clerk. Yes, sir. My left.
This is Mark Whitaker, W-H-I-C-T-A-K-E-R, at Sky Development. This discussion has been filled with a lot of emotions and inaccurate perceptions that really stem from a lot of misinformation. There's been a campaign of this board, as well as some local activists self-promoting their agendas using this issue as a platform. But be that as it may, there are a few facts that are not being discussed that should clear up a lot of the issues surrounding customer use and specific applicability to the Sky property. We purchased the home of this guy, and the title search went back 100 years or more. Very complete. The description of the survey back then stated ownership was titled to the Mean High Tide home. That property description has remained the same word for word all the way up to today. And then in 1991, the Sky development was approved by the Walton County leaders and other government officials at the time, and the development was built. If the county wanted to have this land for public use, they should have done so then. It's too late now. We know the 4 criteria that must be met in order to satisfy the applicability of customary use. Let's talk about it specifically must be reasonable. Obviously, it's not reasonable if the county's attempted a couple of times illegally to seize the property. Once it was a failed renourishment strategy and also with the invalid customary use ordinance of 2017. It must be ancient. I heard someone say that the beaches belong to everyone merely because since God created man, he's traversed on them. Well, since God created man, he's traversed every inhabitable geography on the planet, and I think even the moon. Does that mean that every piece of desirable property is not public? I don't think so, at least not in this country. Thank God. It must be uninterrupted. This one's self-evident. Our property has been posted as private since the community's been approved in 1991. Just go on to YouTube. Watch some of the publicly posted videos of people being interrupted. And just having this meeting is proof of interruption. Why the heck else would you be here? Must be without dispute, please. Same argument. There are court cases past and present related to various county attempts at seizing private property without due process for years. The protests, the sit-ins, the news coverage had. We had Senator Bill Nelson make our beach a political platform for re-election. And then there's the sheriff incident reports and body cam videos that clearly demonstrate administrative disputes. Finally, we've consulted with county and state elected legal leaders, other legal experts, specifically about the sky and the applicability for customary use. And overwhelmingly, they agree there's just no way the customary use can be active. The facts are clear, the criteria can be met, it just can't happen. Let's not forget the Fifth Amendment of our glorious Constitution. Private property should not be taken for public use without compensation. That's where the whole concept fails. So I ask this board to do the right thing. Exclude this guy from the discussion. Do what's right. It's important to all county citizens. Create good paying jobs. Provide support for people less fortunate. Invest in industry and growth. Be fiscally responsible. Give people the facts. Stop promoting your self-interest ahead of others. And do what's right.
Thank you.
We all work together. You come up with these.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Bill Horn, H-O-R-N, and I'm at 285 South Gulf Drive, excuse me, on Eastern Lake, Florida. My father bought the land in 1959. He bought 2 lots on Eastern Lake, so I've been using these beaches now for almost 60 years. And for the last 58 of them, we never talked about customary use. You just used it. I'm really upset that this has come down to this. My father bought the land because he loved the beaches, he loved the water, he loved the coastal dune lakes. The coastal dune lakes are, if we don't protect them, are going to turn into glorified stormwater retention ponds. The ocean is turning into an algae-covered mess, and now you want to take the beaches away as well. That's not the way to do it. I don't understand why Walton County is being singled out. I've covered the state from coast to coast, from up and down. Avid surfer, worked 35 years with DEP, FWC, and I know the state, know these beaches, and this is the only county that we're even talking about this. You have free access to every other beach in the state, practically, except for maybe some of the Air Force properties. And I really don't understand why Walton County is being singled out. And I do want to point out that having beach access is very important, and I think that buying any property that's available to have everybody have access to it, so this is not an issue, is very important. So I want you to look at properties that are available and buy them so that everybody can have access to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last name is Osborne, O-S-B-O-R-N-E. My name is Alan Osborne. I am for CU, but I'm not for the way you're doing it. Everybody ought to be on the beach. And I think there's a lot of things been said here. Mr. Theriak is a proficient attorney, he's doing what he did. Thank you, Ms. Decker, for always letting me know, repeat stuff that involves the plan. But you guys are addressing plain squirrel, talking about hundreds of years. The problem's going to be this. What people in the audience don't know is welcome, because we usually don't have many people in the public here. In fact, until the Hampton Inn, people never really showed up. Most of the time, there's 10 or 12 of us. I've been to about 350 since 1994. In 1994, we didn't have a comp plan. Everything that was approved by the county commission. And we were the last in the state, and we went kicking and screaming, but we did do a decent job, and we hired experts to tell us what our county could handle. We don't have the beaches of the Carolina. We don't have 1,000-foot beaches. We knew what infrastructure we had, we knew what roads, we knew what the beach could handle, we knew what parking, and there was private beach, state park beach, and public beach at that time when I moved here in the 80s. You freely acknowledge. The problem with all this history is this. You adopted a comp plan, and maybe not you personally, but some of you personally were involved at that time, but you never followed it. In 1998, I stood up at a commission meeting and said, look how many variances you've granted already. Is the comp plan just words on paper? The DEA lied? Walton County proved that it was, because south of the bay, the public should know that you're responsible for seeding property. There's been over 2,000 changes to the comp plan, and the TDC's job has become to put heads in beds of mega houses that were never supposed to be there. So you're the problem. You didn't enforce it. You granted thousands of variances, and when you had those hearings and these developments said we're going to have a private beach, none of you objected. They're commissioners. And that's going to come up in court. You can play this emotional thing for hundreds of years of history, and you're about to make a land use change to double the density, and you've got a $100 million infrastructure. Code enforcement is your problem. You've pawned it off to where it's split and bifurcated, and reports to the people who are trying to put more people on the beach. Nobody's out on the weekends. They'll be building Sunday in my neighborhood without enforcement. Enforcement is your responsibility. Code should report to you and not be farmed off. You should follow the plan. You should have been buying beach, and you're creating money for people over land use changes and not charging them for the infrastructure. The people should know you had to pay me $1.3 million because you wrote emails saying, we don't want public comment. The fact that lawyers and who you pick speak longer than the public.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Stacy Froschner. It's F-R-O-E-S-C-H-N-E-R. I just wanted to speak quickly for the support of customary use. I've lived here in Walton County my whole life. My earliest memories of going to the beaches here are from when my parents used to bring us down as kids. We've used the Beach Highlands access long before there were houses there. We used to walk from our house down there. We still do. I would definitely not support the privatizing of our beaches here in Walton County for both tourism and those folks that live here and visit here. Before this summer, I've never been bothered on the beach, but this summer when we would go, when we're just swimming or sitting on the sand, we would be told to leave. And I'll tell you, people who visit this nation and visit this area don't want to be told to move once they've come on vacation here. I'm also a nurse at the hospital, and I'll tell you, if we are talking about restricting access to emergency vehicles, please don't do that. That would be a very bad move in the summer here. We know even if we do make our beaches private, people can still swim, and we should always have free reign for emergency vehicles down there to get to somebody who needs help. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
John Carroll, 3604, Highway 38, C-A-R-R-O-L-L. I've owned beachfront private property in Walton County for 19 years. I'm not in favor of customary beach use. When I bought the property, the deed showed that my property extended to the wet sand. The last 19 years, I have taken Walton County very high property taxes on this beach on the property. Today, Walton County wants to take the property. I paid taxes on it for 19 years without compensation to me. Property rights are protected by the 5th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. If they are not, all people in Walton County with private property will be where I am today. I can assure you our association has done the very best to keep our beaches private, our owners and their guests for the last 20 years. Walton County has spent taxpayers' money on the best lawyers and try to find a loophole to get around the fifth amendment. Walton County has received betting taxes and sales taxes from thousands of people over the years and have squandered the money by not providing the public a beach, a public beach. The TV advertisement that y'all have done always Atlanta has been running for years. It's brought in a tremendous amount of people to the Seagrove over the last 7 or 8 years. Now the service is too big for the tent. The lack of long-term planning by the Walton County commissioners has led to disruption in division and painted beachfront property owners as the villains. If Walton County wins customary use, they will bring in 1,000 people a day to the 21 miles of beaches. This will commercialize our beaches, which will result in more traffic, more congestion, more crime in the beach community. In order for y'all to invest this, the county will have to add more police, more first emergency responders, more vehicles. Where do you think the money will come from? Property taxes. You'll lay property taxes to compensate for more police. There has to be a better solution. Maybe imposing a 1% sales tax. Purchase the beachfront property like some others have recommended for public use. I'm sure there's a better solution, but if not, we'll probably see in the Supreme Court.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Buzz Livingston. That's Livingston. I'd like to thank the commissioners for having this meeting here today. My wife and I live at 83 Sky High Dune Drive. We've lived there for almost 20 years. She was a county manager at Seaside in 1999. I'm proud to say that 3 generations of my family has enjoyed the beach, using it customarily, okay? I also have a business in Blue Mountain too. And we own I'm a beachfront owner, and I support customary use. It's good for the county, it's good all the way around. And you hear all these stories about, you know, the taxes that you pay. Well, last year, my taxes on my unit at Redfish went up. I called and I asked why, and I was going to try and ask for a reduction. Of course, they told me no, and they used comps. Okay, they didn't use comps from just in Redfish. They used comps from other offices up and down 38 that didn't have any beach access. Okay, so I'm not really sure all these taxes that people are paying on the beach, they're paying on their house, but I don't think they're paying it on the beach. So in closing, I just want to tell y'all this is going to be a bad move all the way around. I'm a certified financial planner. I can promise you that this will be negative for Walton County. I urge you to vote to support customary use. Thank you very much. And I still got a minute and 20 seconds over here. The University of Georgia plays today, and you got to say one thing. Go Dogs!
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Veronica Cherry, C-H-E-R-R-Y. I'm presently living in Panama City Beach, but I have a property that construction is being done for a home in Inlet Beach. So I'm speaking from the experience of running 5 days a week on Panama City Beach that has garbage cans. Regardless, I come across a significant amount of garbage laying on the beach, waiting for the shore to get picked up by the incoming tide. I see broken beach gear just laying by the shore. I've been chased by 2 untrained dogs that were unleashed. A lot of people, so there are ordinances in place and garbage cans, but people don't take heed to it. So my point is that you'll be devaluing my property by taking half of it for public use. And also, you know, the other thing is, are you going to pay for the private roads that we repair and maintain for public traffic? You know, and also, are you going to lower my taxes because you'll be devaluing my property by half because you'll be removing half of my property for public use? The solutions that I propose, and I don't have the resources like you do, but, you know, can you work something out with the state for their state parks that will go along the beaches to lower their fees by half, their entrance fees, and also the dedicated beaches that are not permitted any building to occur to provide parking and create more beach paths so that the public can have easier access to beaches? Why do you have to take away half of my land? That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you for having me. My name is James Kernick, K-E-R-N-I-C-K. I live at 153 Bon Air Boulevard, Miramar Beach. And I should start by saying I have a lot in common with this gentleman right here, Vizcaya owner. I have scrimped and saved and worked and done everything I can do in my life to have a beachfront home. Hasn't happened yet, but I'm working on it. I might never get there. Meanwhile, I'm across the street and I haven't gotten there yet. If I do get there, my beach will be open, period. Now, if I may backtrack a moment, I moved here in 1977. My father came down to work in Eglin. I was in Okaloosa County, so we'll start in 1987. My parents bought a condo at the Palms at Seagrove, 1987, 86, something like that. That beach was wide open. I walked up and down day and night, never saw a sign, there was never any dispute. 1986, I had friends renting a condo on Norwood Drive in Miramar Beach. We went up and down the beach as we pleased, day and night, did as we pleased, not so much as a sign, not so much as a get off my beach, nothing. Fast forward to 1992, I moved to Crystal Beach. I was in Okaloosa County, but right there by Captain Dave's, right on the county line, up and down that beach, day and night, riding bicycles, playing, doing whatever we did, nothing. No confrontation, no signs, no one said get off my beach. 2005, moved out to Blue Mountain Beach. Me and my wife would walk through the state park, through Point Washington State Park, to Grayton Beach from Blue Mountain, through the woods, back up the beach, all the way from Grayton to Blue Mountain, not so much as a sign, nothing about get off my beach. And that was until 2008. 2008, bought my home in Miramar Beach. We've been using the Norwood access, and until about, I guess last spring, no signs, nothing. Then the signs came up at Villa Barago, and I have a gentleman out there telling me to get off his beach. He owns to the waterfront, and it's criminal trespass, and if my children so much as kick a ball on his beach, that's criminal trespass. So this is what I'm dealing with now. After all these years of going up and down the beach, doing as we please, no one said a word until April 20th of this year. So please, please do the right thing and vote to confirm customary use. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Cece Allen. That's spelled A-L-L-E-N. I didn't think to get up here and speak, but everything seems kind of one-sided. And then I need a microphone right here in the middle. I am the president of Gina Allen Beach Incorporated. My family developed that subdivision. This familiar to the company. My grandfather bought that land in about 1920. Why are we here? Why do we have to legislate good sense? We have a beach house. People walk in front of it all the time. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I do object when they come up and use the deck for their cocktails and won't use the bathroom or do the news. But I do have my family, when they developed subdivision, made access points, and the county has taken them over. And that's fine. That's wonderful. But I don't think we need to legislate good sense that you don't come out, run to somebody's house, get your tent, and move in. Our renters probably won't come back if that happens, and we're paying some nice property taxes. At the same time, when I was a little girl, I ran naked on the beach. Our dogs ran loose. We had bonfires. We dug out the channel and rode the standing waves back out to the Gulf.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Jacqueline Fudge, F-U-D-G-E. I've been coming to this area since I was 3 years old, 1957, turned 64 on Monday. Made it this far. I first owned property here in 2010, but you can look at my Facebook wall photo. It's customary use from 1963, that image of me on the beach. So there's evidence there as well. I've owned the home I live in at 89 Baird, B-A-I-R-D Road since 2014. I've been using the beaches here, as I said, for over 61 years, and in my own neighborhood since 2014. In February of 2016, I attended a meeting in Definiak Springs where I learned that my neighbors who live south of 30A in the Beach Highlands subdivision had decided to take action to privatize the beach via quiet title. I don't treat my neighbors that way, but I found out that some of my neighbors would do just that to us, those of us who live on the north side of 30A. Some have been more, shall we say, polite about it, others not so much. If we look at the maps now on the county assessor's site, you can see that I can go to the bottom of the steps of the Stallworth Beach access, and technically, if I step onto the sand, I'm on somebody else's beach now. I used to walk my dogs there. I caught a pompano there. Ooh, yay, I did that. I've done a lot of things on the beach, all proper and all legal. Pick up after my dog, pick up after other people. Never let my dog off leash, never let him onto the dunes. We are very legal on all those aspects. However, Mr. Whitaker mentioned economic impact. And I spoke to you guys in February of 2016 about this very matter. Because the backbone of tourism, a backbone of the economy of Walton County is tourism. Some of us like it, some of us don't. Does not affect my own personal income stream because I don't work in that industry. But I can tell you from having worked in economic development in another state, that as property values decline, which those of them who have private beaches, if this doesn't get cleared up, will of course see their property values increase. But the rest of us will, of course, see a decline in our property values. Now, if you look at that, people don't want to come here because they can't go to the beach, right? So then the folks like Mr. Welchclub, who owns restaurants, and others who own businesses here will lose income, and your tax revenue will go down. What happens when tax revenue go down? Roads don't get taken care of, services are not provided, a whole string of things will not occur. So ultimately, for the best interest of the people of Walton County, you need to really seriously consider passing this action to take customary use of the beaches. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Laura Murphy, M-U-R-P-H-Y. I currently live at 3799 East County Highway 38. I'm on the north side of the street, but I'm also an association manager. And I stand here to give my opinion both professional and personal. You know, I sit back and I see so many rumors flying because this is such an emotional issue. But the Gulfront people are not these terrible, big, bad, just piles of money bad people. I've worked at some of my complexes for 20 plus years. They are more like family to me. And believe me when I tell you, I may work for nice people. It's one thing to be neighborly. And we have been good neighbors in the past. But this year, and you sit here and you hear people talking about our signs now, we were given no choice. Because I am definitely pro-property rights. We either put up our signs and cease to be as neighborly as we once were, or we have the whole public on our beaches. Several of my properties, the only time I've had to call the sheriff is when people have been disorderly, such as, unfortunately, acting like they're on drugs, urinating on the sand dunes. You know, the Gulfront owners of these complexes, as I came before the commission ever since this customary ordinance has even started, I have said that if you don't leave room for the owners, and we're not talking private houses, we're talking some of my complexes that might have approximately 50 units, and 75% of them are rental units, that there's going to be problems. Because that is also the people that's paying the betting tax. Not only that, we pay property taxes. I mean, you've got a whole slew. People talk about seeing people use the beach. Well, in front of my complexes, our guests and tenants are returning renters. I called and I tried to ask, what is the percentage of renters that actually visit and stay in Goldfront complexes? I was told that's not tracked. How can we make a logical and make sure that we're making the correct decision if we don't know that? And maybe I was told wrong, but I would just like to know that. I feel like if this thing goes to court, there's a 50-50 chance of winning. But what happens if you win? Be careful what you ask for. We're going to have 90 hotels on 98. We're going to have shuttle buses running down 38. Our road cannot handle the traffic, not to mention the lack of restrooms, the lack of beach parking. I have always urged you to spend the money, buy Goldfront properties, and I still do. I'd like to ask that you step up and be a leader. Find some different options. Bring this community back together again. And let us be what we once were. That is what the majority of us want.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, sir.
My name is Johnny Woodward. I live at 100 Old Mill Road. I have been coming to Seagrove Beach and at Seagrove Beach since 1953, 65 years. We've used the beach for everything you can imagine legally. And we even water skied behind a Jeep on the beach. There's many things we've done. We've brought our friends down to play. I taught school. I brought my class down, my science club down. And it's just a wonderful place for a science lab right there on the beach. There's so much that they can learn. But current use or public use of the beach is something that we have always had. When my dad bought down here in 1953, we had easements at Seagrove Beach. And the easements were put there for a reason, so that we could get to the beach and use the beach. Those easements were there for that reason, and we definitely use the beach, and it's turning into where we can't use it anymore. There are a lot of people that pay a lot of taxes that are on the north side of the beach also. Now, our taxes are there as well as the people on the beach. Sure, we pay less, but there are many, many more of us. And our property taxes are going to need to go down if we do not have public use of the beach, because we rent our property? No, not for the rate that we would be renting at to pay for our property taxes. So at any rate, we need to have public use of the beach. If you were buying a house anywhere else, if you bought a house near an airport, what would you expect? Would you expect noise? I'm not saying noise is coming from the beach, but I'm saying there are certain things that you expect. If you can't cut the noise, don't buy a house next to an airport. So it's pretty much that simple. If you want a private island somewhere, that's fine. Go buy you a private island. I can't afford it. Maybe you can't either. Is why you want to claim this as your own little private island. We need to have this public use of the beach and continue to have it for many generations to come. Like I said, I'm 65 years old. Excuse me, I'm 71 years old. I've been here since 1953 for 65 years. So I've seen a lot of changes take place. One road into Seagrove, one road out. Clay roads all over the place. Now, I would love to see the beach stay public, and I think most of us would. And it's so much that we can learn from the beach. Let's keep it public.
Hang on, sir.
Johnny Woodward, W-O-O-D-W-A-R-D.
Thank you. Okay, yes, sir.
My name is Tommy Francis, F-R-A-N-C-I-S, address 3604, County Highway 30A, Seagrove Beach. I've been coming to the Panhandle since 1960, my family for vacation. And we've been up and down in different parts of the Panhandle over those years. And we, about 20 years ago, landed on County Highway 38, Seagrove Beach. This area area for one reason, and that was because we had to experience those beaches in the other counties, and they are they're wonderful and they're pretty. But the beaches were less crowded here, and it just made it seem like a more family-oriented place to bring our families down. And we purchased our property there at Seagrove Beach 8 years ago, and we do that because the beaches are less crowded. I do implore the beaches to remain public, to be open to all the public. And I really wish that's what this issue was about. But that's not what it's really about. It's been framed as saving beaches for everyone, and customary beach use. That's how it's been framed. What it's really about is developing Highway 98. It's about more bed tax to come into this county. And I'm just trying to imagine what 30A is going to look like, with shuttle buses running up and down and dropping people off at the existing public accesses. I agree with those who have said that the county needs to spend your money on other options, such as acquiring more public beach areas for the public. The other point I'd like to make is that the infrastructure is not here to handle what's going to come. The Holiday Inns of the world are going to come to Highway 98 as soon as you pass this ordinance. The chain restaurants are going to come, and they're going to be shuttling people and dropping them off. And we'll see what that looks like. It won't look like what you have to deal with traffic. Go to Old Lucy County and try to drive down Highway 98 there. Just imagine 38 looking like that once you pass this ordinance. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Once you pass this, the culture of what we have always come here, my family and I have come here for that wonderful, nice, quiet, less crowded beach culture that's been the beaches of South Walton. And we just hate to see that culture, and what's been so nice about this county, we hate to see that change. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm here to support customary use and urge you to vote for that at the end of this hearing.
Can you give us your name?
Yes, my name is Robert C. Hartley. I live at 199 South Zander Way in Church Street Village. I also own property in Blue Mountain Beach on Bramble Street. Hartley, H-A-R-T-L-E-Y. I'm here to support this. We've been coming to this area since the 60s. 4 generations now of my family have come here. We bought first in 93 at Bramble Street, and there was the first time we ever ran into the discussion of guaranteed access, because supposedly when we bought our property on Bramble Street, we were guaranteed access to the beach. We've always heard about the discussion about how much development is enough, and you've heard a lot about that today, that the concern that too much development is bringing too many people here, which is part of the problem I think we're seeing right now, the pressure to keep too many people from the beach for fear that it will interfere with individual rights to use it. At the same time, when I bought in 2006 at Zander Way and the property taxes I paid for both properties, I've never thought about keeping people from using the beach for the things I've used them for all this time: swimming, fishing, riding, looking for shells. I don't think we're talking about that. I think some of the other problems that have been discussed can be fairly addressed while maintaining public use. And I think they have to be addressed because they've been raised as significant and legitimate concerns about how much property should be charged for maintaining their own private repairs, about what we do with access and how much access we have, and how many developments should we have that are off the beach that feed large amounts of people to the beach. Those are legitimate questions. They're not addressed by denying public use, not addressed by making a privileged subgroup that everybody else doesn't have the same privileges or access to the beach. We've got too much of that going on right now in the country where some people have things and nobody else does. Let's keep what we have here in this community, which is people having access to the things that are beautiful, that are natural, and that we preserve those natural things by using them together and working together to preserve them. That's what we're supposed to be doing while being fair to every individual that has paid property tax and does work here. I think that's the charge you have, the challenge you have. And I urge you both to support public use and address some of these other issues as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. My name is Julie Hilton, and my family and I own property in Walton County on the beach that was deeded by the U.S. government in a patent in 1928. And at that time that it was deeded, there was no limitation of use of our property, or use of this property, which we later purchased, up to the mean high tide. If the government wanted to have restricted it, they certainly could have at that time, like they did, for example, in Seagrove Beach or Pensacola Beach. But on our property, there was no restriction, and on the property that we ended up purchasing, there was no restriction. Then again, in 1994, the county platted that property as Paradise by the Sea. And again, there was no limitation on our ownership and use of our property up to the mean high water line. If the county had deemed that that was appropriate to make some limitation, they could have done so then as well. So I think that in this controversy, there's a lot that we agree on that we somehow aren't really connecting all the facts. I think many people might be surprised to know that over 60% of the Walton County beaches are already public. Now, if the county didn't think it was necessary to buy them because everything was public anyway, why did they spend all of that money? I strongly support use of the beaches being public up to the mean high water line. It's wonderful for people to be able to walk, swim, sail, and do all of those things that many of you have talked about as being customary. And that was done, and I support it, up to the mean high tide. It is very sad to me that owners who pay a significant premium in taxes and have many other responsibilities on their property aren't able to use it because unless we make it clear and ask people to leave if they come on our property. It's a sad thing to me that that's the case, but I certainly feel that I have paid a huge premium for this property and should have the right to use it when I so choose. It's ironic to me that on a public piece of property, someone can go ask the county to get a permit, and the county will restrict that use for a private function. However, on my own property, you are claiming that I don't have that right. That's really amazing to me, because I wouldn't even have the heart to even ask that. And at the same time, I would respect a lot of people who have talked about wanting to use the beach, and I respect that up to the mean high tide. Please do not take away our rights without just compensation.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Carolyn Keane, K-E-A-N. Walton County is one of the fastest growing counties in the whole of the US. Motto, I believe, pride, preservation, conservation. So with that thought, I'll say my piece, because homeowners and public use advocate, we face the same issues. I'm sure the majority of people here today feel passionately about the little bit of heaven on their doorstep. It is ecologically diverse and needs to be protected. And I ask, what happens when you open up all the areas to everyone and anyone who claims the right to be on the sand? Don't judge it based on hundreds or thousands of years ago. Assess it by today's standards and population. Judge it not just on the rights of the good, respectful people, but the beer drinking, loud music playing, cussing, excreting, cigarette leaving, plastic dropping, pistachio and peanut shell dropping, driveway parking, chair stealing, hole digging, castle building, trace leaving humans. The ones that want their rights, but they have not learned their responsibility. As a beachfront homeowner, I have never stopped anyone from sitting on the beach in front of my home. But I try to educate people. I don't assume that they will have been privileged to the same level of social, respectful education I have. I ask them to respect the rules on the little bit of beach I am custodian of. Leave no trace. But even the good, respectful beach users leave traces, and each evening and morning I can be found wandering, picking up bits of human. I am known as the Mad Fish Lady. I've recently spent from 6 a.m. till after 10 a.m. scraping thousands of dead fish from the beach. My neighbour, I believe he's here today, in the home next to me helped me. He made it to church that day, but my church was the beach, the desire to get the place cleaned up so that people, your people, could have the same exact feeling of awe and wonder I get every morning was all-consuming. I don't recall anybody who claimed rights to be there helped. In my experience, everybody wants right when the going is good. They don't want to be bothered with the red tide days and the coughs and the streaming eyes. The same day in front of my home, I played host to very people mentioned earlier. They played their music loud, they drank their beers, they smoked their cigarettes, and they were there. There was also some lovely families there with children who are going to be the engineers of the future, who left their wonderful castles for me to knock down so that, nobody falls down into the holes or trips over them. Anyhow, I would say, be careful what you wish for. If you want to drive on the beach, you have to have a permit that system's in place to protect the environment. I would love to ride a horse along the beach, but for the greater good, I can't. I could go on, but please, please be very careful for what you wish for.
All right, thank you.
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Adam, Church Street Village. All by the title is probably the most ignorant person in the room as it relates to this issue. I came here today to learn about it. It's been very educational for me. One of the first things I say is I really appreciate all the beachfront homeowners and the effort that you put into maintaining that beach. And I understand that there's a lot that you've done for that we've all benefited from. So I thank you for that. I also, as I've listened to everything that's been said today, I feel like there's a lot of agendas that are going on. And I hope that a lot of those agendas aren't really there. I hope the county really doesn't have a big agenda going on. I've walked up and down the beaches a lot. No one has, as a respectful user of the beaches, no one has ever stopped me. And I appreciate that, and I thank you for that. I've always tried to be respectful in the way that I use it. One of the reasons that I live here is because, and I don't know how to put this politically correctly, is that it's not the counties on either side, and I hope that's not incredibly disrespectful. We build a nice place to live here, and I think we maintain that, we maintain that well. And part of that is the access to the beaches, but part of that is letting everybody to take the responsibility for it not. I'm sympathetic to the homeowners and these efforts that you're putting into maintaining that beach. To the county, I would just say, if they're putting effort into maintaining something that we're all benefiting from, it's reasonable for there to be some type of compensation for that, if somebody's been listening to that. I also don't think it's reasonable for there to be no access to that. I think everybody ought to be able to share that. Not walking through their yard, but having access to that. Then I also would continue to say, at some point there's got to be a line that I can't cross on somebody's property. I don't know where that needs to be, but at some point there's got to be a line. I don't know how that gets defined, but I appreciate all the discussion today, and I compliment our community on the way that the discussion is taking place. I think it's been very civil.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Linda Cook, Seagrove Beach. Before I begin my little prepared thing, I wanted to say two things. I understand, I've heard people complain that they pay taxes for the beachfront, the sand. And from what I understand from county records, there's no tax charged from the foot of the dune. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's my understanding. The second thing I've heard people complain about is the beach restoration, how they had to spend all this money on beach restoration. Many years ago, the county spent a lot of money. We had a beach manager. We had all this money ready to restore the beaches, and the homeowners objected to it. And that's why they have to pay for their own restoration. So, but now I also understand their problem with, people. I wouldn't want people in front of my house with tents and urinating on my dunes and all of that. I understand that, but that's a legal thing. We could solve that. Okay, now for what I really intended to say. I've probably walked on 50% of the Walton County beaches, from Miramar Beach to the Bay County line, since 1991. I've been to weddings, birthday parties. I've played on the beach with my granddaughter. I've watched numerous sunsets and sunrises every day walking on the beach. Our beaches are a gift from God to be enjoyed by all, rich and poor, not monopoly pieces to be bought and sold for the profit of others. I've been told many times by people that I've worked hard and I deserve this. I deserve this. Do not the people who pick up your trash, who serve you in restaurants, who play, I'm kind of nervous, who play in the bands for your entertainment, live and rent here, and visit from all over the world, do they not deserve to walk on these beaches? Our country is the most divided I've seen in my 71 years of living. Let the peace begin here in Walton County. Save our beaches. I'm for customary use. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am, I believe you've already spoke.
I left something off that I got so nervous. I just have one question. My name is Cece Allen.
I know that, but Miss, you've already had your opportunity.
But I was nervous. I left off one question that you guys need to consider, and that is a hold harmless agreement for those of us who
All right, thank you very much. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, I'm Ted Borowski. It's B-O-R-O-W-S-K-I. I'm the law firm of Borowski and Traylor in Pensacola. I represent C-B-H-I-D as in Victor, LLC, owns vacant land at the end of Eastside Drive. I previously submitted a letter objecting to the notice and objecting to the action and refused to take out those letters that are in the record. I know there are other attorneys preparing a joint presentation on the limited issues and I'm trying not to be concluded if they don't know exactly what they're going to say. I did want to address just a couple of items. Dr. Miller indicated there's no possibility of objection prior to private ownership because the United States of America owned the property. Our parcel was first subject to a patent in 1955. Prior to that, it was owned back by the United States of America. The federal government against it. There would be no right to customary use, no way to impose that, because the federal government is not subject to the state law or customary use doctrine or those rights. It has in that bundle of rights the right to exclude. As with Ms. Hilton's property or family property, this property was sold by the federal government under the Small Tract Act of 1938, I believe, and it was conveyed subject to a reserving a 33-foot easement down one side to the water. It intended to preserve, to sell it subject to these rights that you're suggesting. And it should have said that in the patent, it did not say that. The federal government wasn't subject to it. The federal law was included in the state law. We did that as the case goes on. I did hear Dr. Miller say that Native Americans used the beaches for food and transportation. I didn't hear drunken parties. I didn't hear disposal of trash on the beach. I didn't hear the beach runnels or any other activities. That matters from time immemorial. I agree with one of the earlier speakers. You haven't really identified exactly what recreational or other rights you're intending under this customary use. I did hear or should see the evidence that driving on the beach is one. I understand that that's not permitted now, but I guess it'll be coming back. Those who acquire the private property rights have rights that are protected by the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution. The rights that this commission has historically respected, and I would suggest that you need to take that into consideration. I do believe, as one person asked or mentioned, that half of a property is going to be subjected to this customary use doctrine of the rights of the public, but your tax revenues from those parcels are going to go down. Those legal rights are included in the appraised value. Perhaps the property taxes from these beachfront parcels are not that significant. I suspect otherwise. I would ask that you not pursue this action.
Thank you. All right. Jackie.
My name is Jackie Markel, M-A-R-K-E-L. I live at 19 Sugar Beach Drive in Duneallen on Oyster Lake. I grew up in New Jersey, going down the shore. As a kid, I thought the Jersey Shore was the best place in the world, and it was, until I landed on the beaches of South Walton. In the late 80s, my husband and I stayed in Destin at the Holiday Inn. And someone said to us, You think this is beautiful? Get in the car, drive east, down 98, and you're going to come to this little beach road, 30A. When you get to that, turn down. And that's what we did. The first amazement was crossing over Stallworth Lake. And then on down 30A. Over the years, we decided this is it. This is where we want to retire. So we were fortunate enough to build a beach home in 1991 and moved down here permanently in 2007. My husband worked for Delta Airlines, so we had flight benefits. So we came down here for 15 years, once a month, for 3 or 4 days. And in those early days, when there was very little development going on, we loved to explore the different little nooks and crannies, all the little beaches, all the little spots that were like secret spots that we found. And one of them was the Stallworth Lake area. That was before the preserve was built. And we would spend time on that beach. And to the west of that, the east of that, Beach Highlands. That was one of our favorite spots. No signs, no trespassing. Dunallen, before the regional beach access was there, we walked up and down that beach. And Vizcaya, yes, before Vizcaya was born and after Vizcaya was built, we used that beach in front of this Vizcaya with not a single person telling us to get off the beach. And then when you go down to Ed Walling and Sunrise Beach, before Gulf Place was there, before Sunrise Beach was there, and Old Florida Beach, before Old Florida Beach was there, we would climb up on that bluff and sit there and just look out at this amazing vista. No trespassing signs, not one in sight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wayne Williamson, I'm an attorney here in Walton County, Williamson Law Firm. I represent one owner of the beachfront property, her name is Sherry Chase, C-H-A-S-E. Her residence is 778 Blue Mountain Road, Sunrise Beach. We are here, and I'm here on her behalf to object to the customary use, asking the board to vote no. A lot of reasons have been stated. I concur with a lot of the comments that Attorney Borowski that spoke a few moments ago. My client purchased her property in 1977 and has continually resided on that beachfront house as her homestead that entire time. As you can only imagine, what she paid for it then and the taxes then compared to now are dramatic. There are a lot of issues at work here, primarily if inquiries made into how the property appraiser assesses. I can assure you that the assessments are based on the location of the property, the view it has. All of those are factors. There, as many have pointed out, there's got to be alternatives. It's my understanding that the board is looking into purchasing property and making other public access. That, in my opinion, would be a better spending of money versus trying to take land. I think the actions of customer use basically defies or rather attempts to skirt the long-standing property laws of the United States and Florida. Several of those have been mentioned, the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, Florida's Marketable Record Title Act. There's statements of whether it's not an easement or is an easement. All of those are legal issues, and there was even a mention by the Mr. Theriak who said, well, my client didn't get all of the bundle of rights, but her deed says she got fee simple title, and that generally means all the bundle of rights. So again, I urge the board to vote no on customer use.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, can you hear me? McCrite Provencher, Catherine McCrite Provencher, Provencher. I'm happy to have a second opportunity. I was quite impassioned and angry before, and I do thank the commissioners who have already made this decision to vote for customary use. I'm absolutely for customary use. To me, it's an absolute no-brainer, although I do understand it's a very complicated issue. It's very hard to hold on to moving sand. And it's always been, I was raised here. My family moved here permanently to what I grumbled as the boondocks in 1975. I was not one who was like, yay, pristine beaches. I was like, can we go to New York City where there's like people and life? And later I learned to appreciate how beautiful this area is as I grew. But one thing that was always instilled, nobody ever said my beach. I don't think I had heard that those two words together until this whole issue. Everyone was stewards of the beach, and it was known that where the dunes were was the property line, because nobody wanted to step on the dunes because everybody had respect for the dunes. And as we see in Hurricane Michael, Mother Nature bats last, and you can only have your private line there, but when it comes down to it, we are all stewards, and we are all at the mercy of change and time. And we have big issues, but we also have great minds and great solutions. And I believe that we can come to solutions throughout these problems, but we're not going to get it by isolating people from the beauty of this area. Customary use, absolutely. I mean, I can go through the list like everyone else of all the things I've done. My son crawled on the beach. He learned to crawl. I'd wear him out. My sisters raised their kids here, bonfires, spread ashes in the Gulf, got married. Many of us got married. I mean, beautiful, beautiful life moments have happened on the white sand. And I can tell you all the things I did on the white sand. And I do resent being pushed to that let them eat cake mentality of pushing them to this society, the majority of people who, like others have pointed out, live here, work here, contribute here, pay taxes here. Generations, we are not going to be forced to a little bit of strip. So we do have to work this out. Yes, maybe Walton County should look at being more selective about, we do have a problem with scale. Maybe we should watch who we allow to come and vacation here and attract a more conscious level of tourism. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please vote 5-0-CU.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Eddie Grant, Grant. I'm president of the Homeowners Association for Avalon Beach Estates, which contains 120 homes, and we have about 300 feet of this beach that is needed to us. I would like to say before I begin, I'd like to look at the 4 attributes that you're going to have to address in court. But I would say, I've been coming to this beach for over 30 years. I have never been run off of a beach, and I attribute that primarily to my respect for other people's property rights. I don't go on their beach. Now let's look at the four criteria. One of those is ancient. I think we'll grant you that. You've done a good job. Mr. Miller put together an excellent presentation. But when you look at another of the attributes, for instance, undisputed. Clearly it's going to be disputed. That's why you have lawyers here today. That's why you have all these people. That's why we have this thing going on here today. It is going to be disputed. And as far as uninterrupted goes, I thought Mr. Miller did an excellent presentation of showing us exactly how the interruption has been getting more and more as we progress. In ancient times, they would stay on the beach for months. Later, it was described as weeks. And later, it was described as a few days. And then it was described as day use. And I think that's where we are today. They're allowed to go to the beach during the day. They don't stay there. They don't camp out there. Clearly, it has been interrupted more and more and more and more as time has gone forward. We are in the times that we're in today, and they have been interrupted. If you look at the last item, of course, reasonableness. We think it's unreasonable for the same reason that you have not gone out and purchased additional public beach. It costs us a bundle to buy this property right on the beach or near the beach with beach access and deeded beach access. Same reason makes it unreasonable for you to go buy additional beach is the same reason it's unreasonable for you to take our beach for public use, along with the Fifth Amendment and all of those other things that the lawyers are going to remind you of. So again, I'm here, I'm asking you to vote no against this. I don't see, I've spent 40 years, I'm not a lawyer, but I've spent 40 years interpreting regulations, finding ways to comply with the regulations. I don't have passion for this, I'm just pragmatic. I don't see how you can apply those 4 criteria in court and win that lawsuit. There will be a lawsuit or vote dispute against it. So please vote against it now, put an end to this, save us all a bunch of money. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
My name's Dave Roshtalb. I've lived in Walton County since 1985. My father moved here in 1971, and I live at 187 Title Bridge Way. We've been using the beaches in Fort Walton and Destin and out in Walton County since I was 24 years old, since I was 14. And used pretty much every beach in South Walton. I've walked, run, played, surfed, fished, had bonfires, skinny dipped. These beaches are a shared resource, and we've been sharing them, frankly, up until House Bill 631 mandated on July 1st, 2018, that customary use is no longer in effect. They've been a shared resource, and frankly, as stated before, beach nourishment was on the table, and beach nourishment was taken away by a group of beachfront owners who are the same ones who have organized to privatize our beaches. So beaches that they don't pay taxes on. You pay for the view, you don't pay for the sand. The sand has no tax associated with it. It's very important to point that out. So these are shared resources. I applaud the Walton County Commission for hopefully voting to uphold customary use. I also hope that House Bill 631 will be overturned, for them to arbitrarily put this law into effect at the beginning of last summer, when really and truly those rules, if it is decided, it should be decided and then changed, not changed at the beginning of our summer. And that's what's caused a lot of this trouble, a lot of this anxiety, and a lot of this stress, and pitted us neighbor against neighbor. Beachfront owners are not bad people. Customary use people are not bad people. We're all neighbors here. But we have been put in a position by the Florida legislature and Governor Rick Scott, and it's time for them to overturn this so that our customary use can be restored until and if a legal decision is made in a court of law. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Kathy Kojum, K-O-J-M, 491 San Juan Avenue. I struck gold when I came here and I bought a lot and moved the house here. And the thing that got me was I could go down to that 9-mile street and I had a view to die for. I think the same thing happened to the people who bought on the beach because they had more money. That doesn't disregard me and the taxes that I pay and all my neighbors pay. The one thing in my travels around the world is I don't want to turn into a Hilton Head. I don't want to turn into the various other resorts that you can't even get to the beach unless you find the only pig trail there is to go get it. Another thing about like San Juan is we live, it's you get beach access, and then the next one over is Bramblewood. And everybody goes there because there's a toilet, there's parking, there's now more parking,
And then there's these wedding houses also that have been approved and built in our neighborhood. But where do you want these people, you're driving all these people into small areas, where do you think they're going to go? They're going to spread out on the sand, which we've all done over the years, and we should be able to be on the sand, like Mr. Rothkopf just said. The sand isn't theirs, it's all of ours. I don't want to turn it into, it's just part of the climate of the politics today, and yeah. Please vote for customary use.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Karen McGaha, and I do understand I have to spell that. It is M-C, capital G-A-H-A. I currently reside at 85 Bluefish Street. I do not have as much time invested here as a lot of these folks today. My understanding is that from what I've heard today, customary use has really been around for a very long time, and since I've moved here 3 years ago, I actually have used the beach behind Vizcaya and was not asked to move. So it's surprising to me that this is coming up now, and it seems like what's already existed for so long has not created what it is that we're fearing is going to happen in the future. I think that we're wasting a whole lot of time talking about how did we get this way. That's not going to get us anywhere. What we need to focus on is what we're going to do from this point forward, and not place blame on how did we get here. It also seems like a lot of what came up today can be handled just by taking the whatever ordinances that we already have in place and really putting a lot of emphasis on those, so we can relieve the homeowners from having people misbehaving on their properties. I am absolutely all for the beaches belonging to everybody. If I were to purchase a house on the beach, to me, I'm buying the view and I'm buying access to the beach. It would not even occur to me that I would be actually owning the sand that led up to the beach. So I think that that is something that needs to be taken into consideration. And I also truly feel, with regards to being a homeowner, yes, if you do have people that are doing all sorts of loud partying, urinating where they're not supposed to be, that's where an ordinance needs to come into play. It's not that you're going to take the beach away from all of us who are behaving and are enjoying and picking up after others that are mistreating the beach. I do hope that you repeal HB 631 and allow all of us that live here to continue to put customary use into effect. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Eddie Mitchell. I have a beachfront property at 350 Sandcliff Drive. And I just want to take a minute to express my thoughts to the commission that I'm here only to go on the record that I oppose what they're doing. I just got through having to sue the county because they were basically letting a developer come into adjacent to my property and do a development that should have been 250 foot away from it on a 90-foot piece of property. In doing so, David Theriak represented the developer. I ended up having to spend a huge amount of money protecting my property against the county, letting developers do stuff that were just 100% wrong. Before it all ended up, Theriak wasn't only representing the developer, he was representing the county. And he was also representing the county on this particular stuff. So, there again, I don't want to get into a lot of detail, but looks like, you know, what y'all need to do is continue to buy property like you have been for a year or two now. Continue to buy property, spend the money, and get a place for, I think people have, you know, it doesn't seem like it's been a problem with people using the beach. I've never had a problem with people walking in front of, you know, our beach. So it's almost like we're just creating a problem here that doesn't exist. And please just continue to buy property and drop this thing.
Okay, next up over here.
I'm Pat Cummins, C-U-M-M-I-N-S, from Grayton Beach. I appreciate y'all hanging in here for all of these comments, and I sense that you understand that it's important to all of us. And I certainly hope and encourage you to support customary use of these beaches. My parents bought property here at Grayton during World War II, back when the Coast Guard troops came and took over the store and the big old house there, and the store became the mess hall, and people gathered there in the evenings. Back in a time when we used to have one mailbox for all of Grayton, and we would all go get our mail from there. We had one phone, a public telephone, down in front of the store. People have loved these beaches forever. My folks used to have to buy a block of ice in Freeport and take the ferry to get here. They changed clothes in the dunes so that they could get to the beach. I have loved this beach, all of these beaches, all of my life. One of the things I have been impressed about today is there have been very few people here standing up and proclaiming, my beach, my beach, my beach. For the most part, people here are asking for adequate regulations, asking for the county commission to come up with some standards, laws, regulations that can be enforced and will be enforced. You know, my family has also spent a lot of money on taxes here, but that's not the issue for me. You know, however, if I'm paying these taxes, I would certainly support you spending my share of that money to defend customary use. In the past, some of the commissions have been so easily caved in to the threat of lawsuits. I hear people today threatening lawsuits. You know, I encourage you, in fact, you are charged with preserving these beaches, with having them, it says preservation, conservation, pride. And I know that you all believe it, that somewhere in your deepest heart. So, you know, I charge you to take on that mantle, to support customary use. And, you know, I've got friends all over the world now who used these beaches with me as a child. You know, the memories, the hundreds of thousands of memories of people on these beaches
Thank you.
is just amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, County Attorney, Bruce Dariak. My name is Bruce Anderson, Bruce B. Anderson Law, 495 Grand Boulevard, Destin, Florida, 32578. I represent numerous beachfront owners in Walton County, including Dr. Del Show, Owners Association, several owners there, Rangish owners, represent multiple large developers in Walton County, the largest, you know who they are. I've had the opportunity to litigate with the Terry out in this state, the Terry Act, too. I've always liked the Terry Act, and especially today with them wearing the dress offenders in this day so close to elections. I congratulate you on that. Now, my mother told me growing up, when you get more by sugar than you get with vinegar. My dad always told me, look out what you ask for and tell it like it is. Well, I'm going to have to tell it like it is today. I had a prepared response that I intended to go out and lie down until I heard Mr. Miller's presentation, until I heard the presentation of the Muscogee Tribe and other people speaking here today. And what came out of that is the fact that I think the headlines are or need to be tomorrow
recognize me and should be, there are no longer any real property rights in Walton County, Florida. Because anybody that owns property is subject to this commission, future commissions, taking the opportunity to claim customary use of property throughout the county. You people heard before, owners asking, well, what about the lakefronts in North Walton? We've used those fish, we use property there. Even the presentation of your expert clearly defines that there has been, quote, customary use throughout this county, so no property owners is protected. I'm getting short of time. This is the point. We're here for a reason. Owners tried to get the sheriff's department to enforce the trespass laws. He wouldn't do it without signage. The signage was put up. This commission and several commissions walked and said there will be no signs on this beach. You passed the ordinance. That signage aggravated everybody. It created issues that were no longer there, and you put the owners of beachfront property on the obligation of having either sign or to oppose the use of the property by owners. Go back to where it was. Do away with this attempt to do the customary use. Get the sheriff to enforce the rules and regulations. Buy real property for public access. Provide access.
Mr. Anderson, thank you. Thank you.
Richard Butella, Seagrove Beach, lived here for 20 years. Oh, thank you.
Richard, spell your last name for the clerk.
B-U-T-E-L-A. And by the way, this is only about the beaches. This is not a property rights issue. This is a use.
Can't hear you, Richard. You have to get right up here on this thing. There you go.
Okay, you want to repeat that?
Yeah.
Okay, this is in response to what the gentleman just said. This is not a property rights issue. This is a beach use issue. This only applies to the beaches. The beaches are special as far as customary ancient use. I was deeply moved by the history provided by the Muskogee tribe leaders. I also feel a sense of guilt, even arguing.
Butella, sir, hang on a minute, please. You're going to have to get as close as you can, Richard, so she can hear you over here.
I'll get lots of practice anyways.
Speak up a little bit.
Okay. Did I have to start over again? In answer to the previous person, this is not a, this is not a property rights issue. This is a beach use issue. It does not apply to any other property other than the beaches. The beaches are special. I was deeply moved by the history provided by the Muskogee tribe leaders. I feel a kind of a sense of guilt that I'm even arguing over their property was taken from them. So I'm to continue with a sense of humility. We've used the beaches for over 20 years. I support the customary use of the beaches. I vote that you move forward to vote for it. However, I think we need to recognize other concerns that the beachfront owners have. The county has increased density considerably, including mega houses, which was mentioned earlier, and puts a lot of pressure on private beaches. The county needs to buy more beachfront property. I agree with both sides of this issue. And we also, sometimes the BCC has to have the courage to stand up to people who want to exclude the public from beaches near them. This has happened, for example, at Beachfront Trail, where the county owns 250 feet of public beach. And the TDC has proposed to put a regional beach access. There's no regional beach access between Seagrove Beach and Inlet Beach. And we need to have one there, and the BCC has to stand up to people who want to exclude that. And also other beach accesses the county currently has easement over it have not been open because of people trying to exclude the public. Plus, I also agree with both sides. We need to regulate beach activities. This has been a problem. It's aggravated beach private owners, and I sympathize with them. So I think we need a multi-pronged approach. We need to buy more beach property, open up more beach accesses, provide more public beaches. We have to enforce the rules, and please proceed with customer use action. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Bowman.
Coy Bowman, B-O-W-M-A-N. I'm not going to tell you where I live. This is rope-a-dope. That's where somebody's punching you on the left and you dodge to the right and you find their right-hand fist right there in your face. I'd like to just, instead of arguing about things, point out some of the conundrums. Article 5, or what is it, Amendment 5, says that the government can't take your private property without compensation. Okay, well, so then why don't we give these guys some beads and seashells? Because that's what the Native Americans were given when they were told to get off their land and go west of the Mississippi. If you read that article by I.F. Eldridge, where he created the first Northwest Florida Forestry Department in 1904 or 1914, you will read that they closed the Choctawhatchee Peninsula to the public. The whole thing was public property. The interruption is the privatization of the land, which has been done by J.P. Morgan and the Waltco that are the subsidiaries of the railroad. All of the deeds that say you own down to the water line are about as valid as when the Spanish used to sell entire Caribbean islands to European settlers. They didn't own it. Oh, and if the United States bought Florida from Spain, well, then they bought stolen property. And here's the thing. When we bought Florida from Spain, the Panhandle was not part of the deal. It was only everything from Tallahassee eastward, the peninsular part of the state. So the Spanish still continued to own it up until almost the 1900s, when they just didn't have the ability to defend their ownership of it. Undisputed. There is not another piece of land in the United States that is more disputed than the Florida Panhandle. And it is because of the singing sand, the quartz crystal sand. And if we're talking about archaeological finds, then how are we going to find any archaeological evidence when you are allowing strip mining to take every single ounce of earth off of a piece of land? You won't buy the land that's available along 30A to make it public access, because you would rather put 1,000 rental units there that will profit your water company millions of dollars and then continuing millions of dollars in bed bath taxes. You want to destroy this place. You already have destroyed this place. It used to be the most quiet, peaceful place in the world, and you have destroyed it.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman.
I'm just going to finish real quick by saying...
No, you're done.
I'm always done, because they don't want to hear the truth.
But,
and here come the cops to physically assault me.
okay, sir.
Hi, my name is Jim Caldwell, C-A-L-D-W-E-L-L. I live in Point Washington. Thanks for this opportunity. I support customary use. I'm going to read a statement to go quicker. I was born in Pensacola, Florida in 1957. We lived in Walton County at that time. There was no OBGYN anywhere near. Our families accessed the beaches across the dunes on many dry sand footpaths and used the dry sand on beaches for all types of events at that time. Picnics, beach fishing, boat launching. No one had to ask permission to access the beach or to walk on or to set up umbrellas. It was just understood that access to, from, and anywhere on the beaches was the norm. We eventually purchased land on Stallworth Lake, lakefront, 120 Bishop Street. My father purchased the property understanding that everyone had the right to access and use the beach, not just the beachfront property owners. After we built a vacation home on the property, we let friends and family use the house. Same thing goes with them. We all used various unmarked, unmaintained beach access points in the Beach Highlands subdivision to get to the beach. We cross the dunes and use the dry sand from the southwest point of Stallworth Lake, where it meets the beach, and east on the beach, across 30A from Oyster Lake. We had total unrestricted use of the beach from south of Oyster Lake to Stallworth Lake. We went fishing and water skiing on Stallworth Lake and Oyster Lake, and frequently accessed these lakes and the beach from across the dunes at both locations. Our family and friends went where we pleased, when we pleased, and never saw no trespassing or private property sign anywhere on the beach, or on a footpath access to the beach. I walked for miles on the dry sand, both east and west. In the 70s, when I was in school, I spent my spring breaks here. I accessed the beach through unmarked footpaths in the Beach Highlands area whenever we chose to. We fished, surfed, and swam off the beach in Seagrove, Grayton, and Dunab. We never encountered any signs, trespassing notices, or individuals claiming exclusive rights to any beachfront property. In the 80s, my work brought me close to Walton County. During the 80s, there was a noticeable increase in development, but I continued to use the beach, as I always had, and not one time was I ever challenged by either an individual property owner or a no trespassing sign denying me access. In 1998, I moved to Walton County. My business here is still located on the beachfront. In the early 2000s, I accessed the beach in Seagrove and Inlet Beach to take customers kayak fishing, show them how to beach fish, and teach kids how to surf. I accessed the beach through various paths and walkovers and used the dry sand extensively. I had a Walton County beach vendor permit, and I launched and beached kayaks and small boats all over the Walton County beaches, frequently using the dry sand without incident. I fished and dived and walked on dry sand from Inlet Beach to
Sir, just go ahead and wrap it up.
Okay.
About 10 seconds.
I've walked over 5,000 miles on these beaches without incident. And thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. All right, go ahead, sir.
My name is Duncan Moore. I have property at Blue Mountain Beach. I live in Tallahassee, Florida. I grew up in Pensacola, Florida. Spent days, months, weeks on Pensacola Beach, which is as beautiful as this beach. So I've got sand in my shoes. The reason I've taken the option to speak before you is I feel that maybe, just maybe, it's time to propose a compromise. The only people who are going to make out in this thing are the lawyers, and they're going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars representing everybody in this thing. It'll go on and on. I'd like to simply suggest that you all get some of the parties together and suggest a mean high water mark plus 30 feet becomes public beach. The rest becomes private. That's my suggestion.
Thank you. Yes, sir. If you're going to speak, you better get in line now, because when he and this young lady get through, we'll be closing the public comment section.
Chris Foreman, 58 East Watson Trail, Outlet Beach. People have been talking about customer use, how they use the beaches. I'd like to talk to somebody who's not here. His name is Mr. Beach, just like the beach, B-E-A-C-H. And I had the pleasure of meeting this man in the early 90s. He was fishing in Hill Beach. I believe he was the last man in this state to be allowed to commercial fish without license. He used to wear overalls, a long sleeve shirt. He'd follow the pompano and the whiting every winter down the beach from Bay County all the way to Pensacola. He had 3 rules: never fish on Sunday, always go to church, and do a teaspoon of turpentine every day. He lived till 99. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Deborah Whiteley. I live in Alabama, but we have a place, we are fortunate to have a place on the beach on 30A. I was recently widowed. My husband was sick for a year, so to be honest, I have not kept up with this issue the way I should, but I've come down here by myself today to tell everybody that we bought land. We bought our property, this piece of property on 30A, I think in 1995. We tore down a house because the hurricane got a lot of our yard, and we rebuilt a house and moved in it in 2010. Now, I'm a widow, and because of the fact that we've invited everybody and we have advertised so much, and we really are promoting something that's beautiful, I have people everywhere on my property, but I also am a widow trying to pay these exorbitant ad valorem taxes that I've now incurred because my property is worth so much. And what I say when I'm in Alabama is we have people that are coming from everywhere, and I say we're the last of the Alabama rednecks who've been coming down here all of our lives, and now we really almost cannot afford to come because of the ad valorem taxes, but I'm paying taxes on what is on my deed, which my deed says I own to the mean property line. And I just feel like I'm paying taxes for people.
Security, take care of her, please.
Should I go on?
Yeah, let me make sure they got it.
I realize I've had a lot of bad days lately. I know about those days.
Okay.
Anyway, I just feel like we've almost, and we've been part of it because we've owned property since 1976 at Pinnacle Court and then on 38 for 33 years. But I feel like we created a monster here. I don't know what the answer is. All I know is if I'm paying property, if I've paid for my property and I'm paying my exorbitant ad valorem taxes, I should be able to go out on the beach and put up my umbrella and take my grandchildren down there and not be surrounded by people that have put tents all over in front of my house. And anyway, but I do appreciate the job y'all are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Seeing no others, we'll go ahead and close this section for public comment. We're going to take till 2 o'clock and take a break, and then we'll have the attorneys do their thing. So we stand in recess until 2.